So I've pulled a bare root rose out of the bundle, and I just wanted to show you, if you ever get a rose and you see how this new growth is really kind of almost white, yellowish white. We want that to be like green, or a lot of roses when they first start growing, it's going to be more of a red color. Sometimes the first new leaves that come out are going to be more reddish, and so don't worry about that. But this is not bad. This is fine. This just means it's been in the dark. So these have been probably in her cooler for a while, in the dark, staying moist. So they're growing, they look really healthy. They just need sunlight. And once they get some sunlight on them, they'll start to green up or even turn that reddish green hue, and they'll just take off. And actually these look really good because I can actually see them growing. You know, sometimes when you get them, the buds haven't swollen yet, so you're not really sure if they're gonna grow or not, but these look really good to me. I mean, look how big the root system is. Like, they look great. And I believe both of these that I bought were own root roses as well. Yes. So if you look on when you order your plants, most of the time they'll tell you if it's own root or bare root, or not bare root, grafted rose. So there's a little OR on this tag. I don't know if you can see, it's backwards, but OR means own root. So this means that these are the roots of this Princess Charlene de Monaco plant. So there's debate out there whether grafted or own root is better. Basically what grafted roses are is that you have a rootstock of a different type of rose. Dr. Huey or Fortuniana, I don't know if I pronounced that right. Those are some really popular rootstocks, and they're very disease resistant, or they have certain characteristics about them that make them desirable. And so what happens is nurseries will grow rootstock in the field, and when they get to a good size, they will basically bud on, they will take cuttings essentially, or they'll take buds basically of the plant they want on top, like the Princess Charlene de Monaco, and they will graft it in to the rootstock of the other plant. And once that bud starts to grow and take off, then they cut off the top part of the plant that belonged to the old, let's say it was Dr. Huey was the variety, they'll cut off that Dr. Huey stem and leaves and all of that. They'll cut all that off because now the bud is taken off, it's growing, and now we have the Princess Charlene de Monaco growing on top of the plant. And that's what we want. And so basically those plants, if they're grafted and you buy them bare root, they're usually like 2 years old. And sometimes with the own root plants, they're not as old and they can be a little bit smaller. But a lot of times people say that maybe a grafted rose might establish a lot quicker in your garden because the roots are a lot bigger. The root system, they're usually a lot bigger. But they say oftentimes after a few years, you can't really even tell the difference between the own root and the grafted. Again, it kind of depends on the variety, and there's a lot of debate out there, and I am not a master rosarian by any means. So you'll have to do your own research on that. I'm in the camp of if it's own root, that's better for me, because if it's going to survive and be successful on its own root, then it's just going to be successful overall in my garden, I feel like. Sometimes with grafted plants, what can happen is the root system can put out a shoot. So a Dr. Huey root system can actually put out a shoot of Dr. Huey, and eventually that can kind of take over your plant, and eventually your plant that you thought was Coco Loco or whatever variety you wanted will become Dr. Huey, because Dr. Huey is starting to put out all these suckers and everything. You can go through and like take care of that. If you see that early, you can cut off those shoots, which is a whole thing in itself, and I haven't had that happen yet. But and there's some good videos on that as well. But so, you know, if this plant suckers, that's okay, because it's going to be a Princess Charlene de Monaco, because these are its own roots. So suckering is not a bad thing when it's an own root plant. Now with a grafted plant, it can be a problem. So there's the rundown on that.